Good evening and welcome. Tonight, Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu disbands of Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS operations across the country after days of protests by several groups within and outside the country. Ondo State Governor Akeredolu is re-elected for a second term in office after polling the highest number of votes in Saturday's governorship election. At least 7 persons are killed with several others injured after a 3-story building under construction collapsed in the Obalende area of Lagos. And researchers say the virus responsible for COVID-19 can remain infectious on surfaces like phones and banknotes for up to 28 days. Plus, sports stories. The populace saying the voice of the people is the voice of God came to play today as the voices of Nigerians over the overbearing attitude of men of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad were finally heard with the announcement of the disbandment of the SARS nationwide. Prior to that, however, the protests calling for the disbandment had continued in some parts of the country, and even beyond. Popular music sensation Wizkid was part of the group in London. In spite of the ban, firebrand preacher Pastor Tunde Bakare of the Citadel Global Community Church still believes strongly that indicted operatives of the SARS team should be made to pay for every single assault committed. But let's start from what is perhaps the most cheery news for Nigerians today, especially the young and the not so young that have been out there on the streets and across social media platforms in the past few days calling for an end to the activities of SARS operatives with the hashtag #EndSARS. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, who had met with the President only on Friday over the #EndSARS protests in different parts of the country, today announced the disbandment of SARS operations nationwide. But that's not all. The police boss, who made the big announcement at a press conference in Abuja, announced other actions that the force intends to put in place to ensure that there are no lapses in the operations of the police in tackling security challenges in the country.
Following a review of the current developments and in due cognizance of the wide and legitimately held concerns of well-meaning citizens on the existence and operations of Special Anti-Robbery Squad as a responsive and citizen-oriented police force, it is hereby directed as follows. 1. The Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police, otherwise known as SARS, is hereby dissolved across all formations, the 36 state police commands, and the Federal Capital Territory, where they currently exist. 2. All officers and men currently serving in the unit are to be deployed with immediate effect. 3. New policing arrangements to address the offenses of armed robbery and other violent crimes that fall within the mandate of the dissolved Special Anti-Robbery Squad shall be presented in due course. 4. A Citizens and Strategic Holders Forum will be formed to regularly interface with the leadership of the police at all levels and advise on police activities. 5. To deal with the reports of crimes committed against citizens, an investigation team will be constituted, which will include civil society organizations for transparency, and the culprit will be punished.
Before that announcement by the police chief, police authorities in the Federal Capital Territory had disrupted a protest march by some youth who had assembled for a 5th straight day, calling for the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The protesters first converged on the Unity Fountain in Abuja, insisting that they do not want a reformed SARS and that the unit must be scrapped.
Nobody else. So we move from here and we go straight.
So, if OBO come, no lose focus.
We need you. We don't need any celebrity. Speak for us. You are the leaders of this project. You are the leaders of this project. Yes. Without you, there is no project. And this is to all of us. Do not allow yourself to be confused by any celebrity, by any politician, by nobody who wants to adapt this movement for clout or for their own personal gain. What we want is for them to answer.
From there, they marched through the streets of Abuja and headed to the police headquarters to see the Inspector General of Police in order to register their demands. However, the SARS protesters were intercepted by the police, who fired tear gas at them in an effort to disperse the protesters. The protests extended beyond our shores. In the United Kingdom, some Nigerians were at the Nigerian High Commission in London to lend their voices to calls for the scrapping of SARS. Music sensation Wizkid is one of those who attended the event.
It's not the first time the young Nigerians will be protesting over what they perceive as societal wrongs. In faraway United Kingdom, some young Nigerians decided to be part of the week-long protest calling on scrapping off the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The protesters in their hundreds who came from different parts of the city converged on the Nigerian High Commission in London.
People die every day. People don't die.
In a show of solidarity with their compatriots who have had bitter experiences with SARS operatives.
The level of brutality of SARS has reached a level where it cannot be reformed. You can do nothing about it but completely disband them. The terrors, the horrors they have unleashed on young Nigerians is incredibly out of this world.
Well, right now I'm currently in London for family reasons, but I'm heading back to Lagos next week. Now I'm passionate about it because I've been arrested by SARS 5 times. So for me, this is my reality, and this was between 2019 and 2020. I'm a young man that's an entrepreneur in Lagos that runs events, so I'm always out every single night. I throw parties, and then automatically I'm already under the radar because they generalize that I'm a Yahoo boy, they generalize I'm a thug, they generalize I get my money illegally when I work hard for my money. Because I have earrings, because I have a beard, does not label me a Yahoo boy. Because I have a laptop, I'm not a Yahoo boy. Because I have a car, I'm not a Yahoo boy.
While the protest was ongoing, music sensation Wizkid joins the crowd. And he comes out with some good news.
Your voice has been heard. This is a new Nigeria. We are not scared to speak our mind again. And as I speak to you right now, on my way here, the IGP in Nigeria has disbanded SARS. So Nigerian youths, don't let anyone tell you you don't have a voice. You all have a voice.
Now that their wishes have been granted, these Nigerian youths and those across the globe will be hoping that the police authorities will ensure that those replacing the SARS operatives will not be found wanting in the dealings with Nigerians.
And as we had in that report, there are those who feel that it is not just enough to disband the Special Anti-Robbery Squad without beginning to book those who have been found wanting in the unit. The head pastor of the Citadel Global Community Church, Tunde Bakare, is one of them. And he raised this point during his church's Sunday service in Lagos today. The clergyman also adds that no security agency can effectively police a people disgruntled.
In the the mighty name of Jesus, because the grave irony of SARS is that it has become a grotesque embodiment of the problem it was created to solve, and the tail is now wagging the dog. Hear me loud and clear. From the Inspector General of Police to the last constable in the Nigerian police force, you cannot police a people without their cooperation. You cannot police a people without their cooperation, and you cannot obtain the cooperation of the people for a tactical unit they no longer trust. In the short time, we must find a balance between retaining the anti-robbery intention and re-evaluating the identity of the vehicle by first expelling, and I choose my words, by first expelling and prosecuting the criminal elements among the rank and file and the leadership of that unit.
While the police authorities were announcing the scrapping of SARS in Abuja, some hoodlums hiding under the guise of taking part in the End SARS protest in Oyo State attacked the palace of the traditional ruler of Ogbomoso, Oba Jimo Oyewumi. Our correspondent reports that the traditional ruler and the Minister of Sports, Mr. Sunday Dare, who was also in the palace at the time of the attack, were rescued by men of the DSS. The hoodlums destroyed several property in the monarch's palace and engaged security operatives for several hours before gaining access to the palace. The police PRO in Oyo State confirmed that some of the policemen attached to the palace sustained injuries in the attack. And still, before the announcement by the Inspector General of Police today on the disbandment of SARS, there had been several clamour for the disbandment of the squad. But this is not the first time the police authorities will be taking action against the squad, arising from public outcry on some of their activities. Our next report takes a look at the activities of SARS and the agitations for the scrapping of the squad over the years.
Like a wild wind, the End SARS protesters take to the streets of Abuja, demanding the scrapping of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The protesters also occupied the Lagos State House of Assembly, insisting that their demands must be met. From Ogun to Kaduna and other parts of the country, the request is the same.
What do you want? What do you want it now? What do you want? What do you want it now?
The Special Anti-Robbery Squad came into being in 1992. It was established by former police commissioner Simeon Danladi Maidenda. The major reason for its formation was when a Nigerian army colonel was allegedly killed by police officers at a checkpoint in Lagos. Due to the existence of an already established anti-robbery squad, which was operational at that time, Mr. Midenda distinguished his team from the already existing squad and named his Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS. By 2009, after several years of operations, the squad grew in number and strength. Owing to the surge in the numbers of internet fraudsters and cultism in universities, SARS operatives infiltrated Nigerian universities, made several successful arrests, but in the process harassed innocent youth. Following several reports of human rights violation by members of the public to the office of the then Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase, he announced the splitting of SARS into two units on the 7th of August 2015, operational and investigation units to curtail cases of human rights violation. On the 14th of August 2018, the then acting president of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, ordered with immediate effect the overhaul of the controversial police unit following reports of human rights violation. This soon led to the IGP renaming SARS to Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad. A new head of the unit was appointed and human rights desk officers to monitor reports were also selected. However, on the 21st of January 2019, IGP Mohammed Adamu ordered the immediate decentralization of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which hitherto operated from the force headquarters in Abuja since inception. He also stated that the DIG, Force Criminal Investigations Department, and commissioners of police in each state would be held accountable for actions of the SARS. On the 21st of August 2019, 4 SARS operatives were arrested and charged with murder after being caught on camera manhandling and then shooting to death 2 suspected phone thieves in broad daylight. Although the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has announced the disbandment of SARS, the End SARS protesters may be demanding the reformation of the police force.
In part 2 after the break, Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu is re-elected for a second term after polling the highest number of votes in Saturday's governorship election. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu disbands the Special Anti-Robbery Squad operations across the country after days of protests by several groups within and outside the country. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu is re-elected for a second term in office after polling the highest number of votes in Saturday's governorship election. At least 6 people are killed with several others injured after a 3-story building under construction collapsed in the Obalende area of Lagos. And researchers say the virus responsible for COVID-19 can remain infectious on surfaces like phones and banknotes for up to 28 days. The Independent National Electoral Commission has declared Governor Rotimi Akeredolu as winner of the Ondo State governorship election held on Saturday, October 10th. Governor Akeredolu of the All Progressives Congress polled 292,830 votes to defeat his closest rival and People's Democratic Party candidate, Mr. Eyitayo Jegede, who garnered 195,791 votes. The candidates of the Zenith Labour Party and Ondo State Deputy Governor, Mr. Agbola Ajayi, placed third with 69,127 votes.
The Vice Chancellor, University of Ibadan, hereby certify that I am the returning officer of the Ondo State governorship election held on the 10th day of October, year 2020. That the election was contested. That the candidates received the following votes: Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu, male, of APC, 292,830, 292,830, 292,830, 292,830. LP 1977, 1977, 1,977. Eyitayo Olayinka Jegede, male, of PDP, 195,791, 195,791, 195,791. So consequently, having satisfied the requirements of the law, I hereby declare Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as the winner and is hereby returned elected. Thank you.
President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Governor Rotimi Akeredolu on his re-election as governor of Ondo State. President Buhari, in a statement, thanked the people of Ondo for keeping faith with their governor and the All Progressives Congress, noting that the people know the person and party that truly serves them and have spoken in clear voice and unmistakable terms. He appreciated the people for comporting themselves and ensuring a free, fair and violent-free election, which he says indicates that the country is making progress in its electoral behavior. The president also commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for organizing a credible election and the security agencies for ensuring that orderliness was enthroned and maintained. He advised Governor Akeredolu to be humble and magnanimous in victory and serve the people of the state better than he did in his first term. Reactions are pouring in as Governor Akeredolu is re-elected for a second term in the just concluded governorship in Ondo State. Our correspondent, Directives, reports.
Oluwaru Akeredolu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as the winner and is hereby returned elected.
The first and default reactions are from the party agents. From their field observations to discrepancies they notice, they bear it all.
Well, the outcome of the result, it would appear that this is clearly won't be the free choice of our people, in the sense that this government and this party have weaponized poverty. They've turned poverty into a weapon of mass destruction, and the people have subjected to that blackmail, because money played a very major role in this election, in the sense that vote buying was rampant and it was all over the state.
There are other reactions coming from different quarters.
A lot of people showed enthusiasm of coming out to vote, despite all the accusation of violence and all. But the minimum standard of violence has been curtailed by the Nigerian security officers all through. And the INEC too did a wonderful job of making sure that this particular election hold within the speculated period of time, and the minimum accusation issue of the card reader and all was overturned and taken care of by INEC.
At the hometown of the victorious governor in Owo, jubilant party faithful, family members throng his residence to celebrate his victory.
I will shout for joy.
Governor is flanked by his party bigwigs, state governors, senators, those who've walked the same road with him in the course of this journey.
We are elated to receive a scorecard through the statewide plebiscite. The resounding victory of our great party, All Progressives Congress, throws an open challenge to all stakeholders not to choose the path of complacency. We have noted the few dissenting voices of protest in this referendum. We heard them loud and clear.
I'm very happy, and I'm particularly happy for the good people of Ondo State, because this is their victory. This is for them, and I'm grateful to God Almighty. We appreciate the efforts of Mr. President. We congratulate ourselves. We appreciate the efforts of the APC National Caretaker Committee. They've done well, and of course all those that played their part, from the Governor of Lagos, who was the chairman, to everybody. We all work around the clock to achieve this. So we thank God and we are grateful to God.
The undiluted celebrations are on the streets.
After months of campaigns and sometimes heightened political tension, a winner has been declared in the Ondo State governorship election, and that is the incumbent governor, Rotimi Akeredolu. He's taken his thankful message to the streets. He says the work has just begun. Directives, Channels Television News.
The campaign organization of the PDP candidate, Eyitayo Jegede, however, says it is still studying the situation and will make its position known in a matter of days. The spokesperson for Eyitayo Jegede campaign organization, Benga Akimoyo, however, says the team ran a good race.
For the benefit of the general public, we'd like to thank all Ondo State voters who went to the polls yesterday and voted with their conscience. We'd like to thank all the members of the PDP who were engaged in this project at local, state, and national levels. This project is the project that God has ordained, and as it is so, we wait. We wait.
For more on the Ondo elections, we go over now to Owo, where our correspondent Shura Kimalo is standing by to speak with the re-elected governor of Ondo State. Show.
Thank you, Amarachi. Welcome to Akure. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the newly elected governor or re-elected governor of Ondo State, the APC candidate, Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10, and I must say congratulations for your re-election into office.
Thank you so much. I just want to note that you are no not Akure.
Absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a very long one. Let's begin the conversation tonight on the news at 10 about your victory. How does this come to you?
Well, I mean, it didn't come to me as a surprise. I've always argued this point that I'm a man of faith. My trust has always been in God, and I know the God I serve. And I always believe very strongly, for the matter, that we are going to be victorious. And based on our work, and I believe that it was going to be more like a referendum on what we were able to achieve or what we were able to do in 3.5 years. And our work is there. Everybody can see it. So I trusted the judgment of the people of Ondo State, and having God's backing, I was so sure that we were going to be victorious.
Well, I mean, you knew you were going to be victorious, but in this dimension, were you very clear at the onset that you were going to be victorious, especially winning in some areas that where analysts have said you may not win those local government? You won 15 local government areas.
Well, I mean,
did you see that coming?
When you say no, let me clear very well. I believed. Your belief is different, you know. But when you come to a issue of winning 15 local government, it's just a slight improvement on what I did the last time. The last time I won 14. Talking seriously, in all frankness, I thought I was going to win the 18 local government. I'm shocked as what happened in Akure, because I take Akure South, Akure North, and the Federal as they're all Akure. So I'm shocked at the development there. But I will have to put that one behind me and move forward. But for that Akure factor, I expect that I'll win everywhere, because I worked even in those local government in which the people turned against us. But it's all right by me, but we'll forget it.
If you have learned anything from this process, it's been a long one for you. You've been a lawyer all your life, and coming into politics also has taught you a lot. Now, seeking the re-election, it has opened your eyes. What lesson would you say these very past few months have taught you?
Well, these past few months, I mean, what the events that led, or the events that commenced all this process, like the deputy governor who decided to jump ship, I was shocked too, although I got to know it was going to happen. When I saw his movements, I got to know that, look, okay, this man has made up his mind to go, and whether he likes it or not. And I think God answered my prayer. I was praying for him to go, because he had to go anyway, because you cannot have people who will be there who want to stab you at the back and you want to keep them in the house. No. You cannot have a snake under your roof and think you can sleep well. So it was good that we had the snake to go so I can sleep properly. So that taught me a lesson in politics. But it's not a new thing. It has happened over and over. Right here in Southwest, even in the North, everywhere. Look at the case of Baba Awolo and Aketola. Look at Omoboriwo and Ajashi here. Look at so many instances. Look at Polagi and the Afolabi. Many instances. So for me, it's nothing new. It was not new. But eventually I sensed it. I knew that, look, it's not possible for me to continue to want to plant corn and have Yorubas call it akparu under and carry it and say I'm planting corn. It will eat all their corn. It will not germinate. So when this akparu had to leave, I was very happy. And I thank God for it. And I knew I was going to go into this politics. And I was going to face a lot of what I would call blackmail, because that is their stock in trade. There was no other thing that they were going to throw at us. Throw at me, throw at my family, throw at my wife, throw at my children. Well, it doesn't matter to me. And because I felt, no way, there was nothing God would not do.
So you're strategically better now, politically speaking.
Oh,
with
yes.
the benefit of hindsight, that going into your second term, you were smarter politically, isn't it?
Well, I should be smarter. I mean, if I've learned a great lesson like this. But what I always say is that matters like this do repeat themselves. But it cannot come from the deputy I've chosen now, because he's not here, probably listening to me. I have a lot of confidence in him. I don't see him behaving like the former one.
Okay. Fence mending will be very important. Uniting your party, uniting the ranks that you present belong will be very important. How do you have friends who you think have betrayed you? How do you hope to start that process?
Now, the process I'm concerned about is, you mentioned my party, but there are a few dissidents in my party. The party is united. I mean, it has never been that you have aspirants all coming together to support the person who won at the primaries. So for me, our party is united. But there are people who still feel they are disgruntled on one issue or the other. So now, I mean, there's not much for me any longer in terms of having to do politicking. It's for me now, my goal should be to get all members of the party together to work together. So with a party, I think it's very easy, because all tendencies in the party are now together, working together now. If there are a few people who probably, for losing one election, for not being allowed to contest an election, those are things that have been on ground. We can still be able to bring everybody together, to work together.
Governor Akeredolu, before we go, just briefly tell us, you've made a lot of promises during the campaign, but within the very first few days, what do you think is perhaps one thing that is most important to the people of Ondo State that you will focus on? The burden of governance.
Well, I mean, the one thing I believe is very important to Ondo State, for me as a person, is Port Ondo. I want to really devote all my energy into having a port declaration for Ondo. So from there, as you go along, because I've always had a vision that, look, Ondo State, we have the longest coastline. Before now, we should have been connected to global economy through the sea. And I wonder why we're lacking behind. I believe that most people have wasted so many years in government in this state that we failed to do that. So for me, that is one thing I want to concentrate on, and in addition to a number of my projects, infrastructural projects that are there that we want to finish, most of them in Akure and a few places.
Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, congratulations one more time, and I want to say that it's going to be yet another ride in your political journey, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so
much.
I appreciate you, Sheung. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a bit for you. Amarachi is back to you now.
Thanks a lot, Sheung. Here in the studio, depending on who you ask, the result of the Ondo governorship election means different things. How, why, and what did Governor Rotimi Akeredolu have to do to win? To analyze the election results is Babajide Obusowo, Channels TV's data and information consultant. He's here with me, still scribbling away. Babajide, great to see you as always. So your thoughts, how do you summarize the election and the result?
It depends. We've heard the governor talk about his plans. We should also talk about what the people want. So the summary is we've got good news based on this result, and there's some bad news.
Or not so good news?
Not so good news, to put it in a political way. But let's first start with the good news. The good news is, based on this election, 292,000 votes. In other words, the governor scored 49%. He had 49% of the total accredited votes. That's a higher endorsement relative to 2016, when he had only 42% of the accredited votes. So the good news is, in the total, more families living in Ondo State trust the governor. 42% of total accredited votes in 2016, now 49% of the total accredited votes. So that's the good news. The not so good news, as you will put it, is that based on the facts from the National Bureau of Statistics, they say that in the southwest, Ondo State is the state that has the highest unemployment and underemployment rate. The NBS says Ondo State has a 53% unemployment and underemployment rate. More than 1 million people living in Ondo are either unemployed and underemployed. That's the highest unemployment and underemployment rate in the southwest. And so, yes, we've seen the results. Shows that compared to 2016, more families have endorsed the governor. The governor tonight has talked about his plans and vision for Ondo Port. Yes, that is good, but the people in Ondo are also speaking. There's a need for the government to create that environment, policies, programs, and to rethink how small, medium, and large-sized businesses can employ people. So that is the summary of the results we've seen tonight.
And I'm guessing that you do have some comparisons to make from the 2016 elections and now possibly the number of people who turned out to vote and so on.
Oh, yes. The first is we're most likely not going to be having any governorship election until next year, about November next year when Anambra comes in. So perhaps this will be the last governorship election that we will have before the APC has its national Congress. So this election has also reminded us that some friends have become enemies, and Amarachi, some enemies have become friends. But let's take a close look at exactly what did the governor do to win. In 2016, when this election held, the governor won all 3 senatorial districts. This time he lost Ondo Central Senatorial District and he won Ondo North and Ondo South. So let's look at Ondo Central where he lost, even though he had some positives. The positive is in Idore, for instance, in 2016, he had 42% of the total accredited votes. This time, it was able to perform a bit better, 44% of total accredited votes. In 2016, in Ondo East, he had 27% of accredited votes. This time, 43% of accredited votes. Let's look at those other 2 regions, Ondo North and Ondo South. He won this time in Ondo South, Ondo North with a big margin. Look at Owo. 2016. 77% of accredited votes went to the governor. This time, 81% of accredited votes the governor was able to get in Owo. Akoko Southeast, in 2016, he had 45% of the accredited votes. In this election, based on INEC results, that has improved to 59% of accredited votes. And finally, Ondo South, 2 places stand out. Ilaje, in 2016, Amarachi, the governor scored only 18%, you heard me right, 18% of accredited votes. This time, it has moved to 60% of accredited votes. And so if those numbers from INEC are accurate, we've seen more families endorsing him in Ilaje. Also in Ondo, 42% in 2016 of accredited votes. Governor Akeredolu this time has scored 55% of accredited votes. So in the summary is still that in this election, the governor was able to gather 49% of accredited votes, and that was an improvement from 2016 where he only got 42% of the accredited votes.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off something you said, which is that Ondo State has the highest number of unemployment, the highest unemployment rates, in the country. Was this before the governor or after, he became governor?
And this is a report that was released less than 100 days ago by the National Bureau of Statistics that showed every state on their performance of unemployment. But this doesn't mean that jobs have not been created in Ondo.
Right.
Jobs have been created, but the rate of citizens living in Ondo coming into the labor force is significantly faster than the rate of jobs that have been created. And so Ondo State, more than ever before, needs to rethink its job creation program. But what we've also noticed in this election is some consistency with what has happened in the previous 2 elections post the presidential election. Let's look at the voter turnout.
Yeah, because there were more people out this year, right?
Now,
in some places.
In some places, but if we take a look at the trend, especially Kogi, we've seen the elections in Edo, what you notice is a lot of Nigerians are still not coming out. This time in Edo, 33% of those that were registered came out. In 2016, now that was low. Only 33% of those that were registered came out. In 2016, those numbers were better. We see in Kogi State, we've seen that Kogi State election, only 39% of people that were registered came out to vote. In Bayelsa, that number was relatively surprising. 56% of those that were accredited came out to vote. In Edo, the election before this, only a quarter, 25% of those that were registered came out to vote. And in this election, we've seen only 33% of those that were registered coming out to vote. In all, we've had 4 elections post the presidential election. 6.6 million people have registered in these 4 states, but only 2.3 million have been accredited. So the evidence shows that only 34% of Nigerians are still turning out to vote. And so INEC needs to understand all the processes to ensure that more Nigerians get to vote. But in the final analysis...
And very quickly, too.
Let's not forget that no man is above the law, and no man is also below the law. Theodore
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
That's a fine place to leave it, Babajide. Always a pleasure having you here. Thanks for dropping by every Sunday. Appreciate you. Now the news now, at least 7 persons have died, several others injured after a building under construction collapsed at number 60 Ondo Street, Obalende, Etiosa local government area of Lagos Island. First responders and emergency response, both from the state and federal agencies, are still at the scene. What you're looking at are pictures from earlier today. They've been trying to rescue some of those still trapped under the rubble. NEMA coordinator in Lagos, Ibrahim Fariloye, told Channels Television that the building is a 3-story building that is still under construction. And in Kaduna State, at least 7 persons have been killed by gunmen, with several others injured in Kidandan and Kadai communities in Giwa local government area of the state. The gunmen were said to have invaded the communities on Saturday night and opened fire on the residents, killing 7 persons and burning down houses. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, who confirmed the incident, explained that the attackers were fleeing bandits who were successfully repelled by security operatives and local vigilante on Friday when they attempted to attack the Kidandan general area from a neighboring state.
The attackers actually came from a neighboring state, and eventually ground troops and police operatives alongside with Air Force were deployed to the location. And in the course of the gun duel, the bandits were massively hit by security agencies. So while fleeing, they eventually attacked the Kadai village. The unfortunate attack on innocent citizens led to loss of lives, destruction of properties. Some houses were burnt, and some vehicles as well as motorcycles.
To Anambra State, where the state government has begun moves towards making the state capital a smart city. The state government has commenced digitized house numbering to end frustrations of locating houses in the city. The project, which is being executed by the Anambra State Signage and Advertisement Agency, ANSA, is to ensure precision and accuracy in identification of houses in the state.
Some lucky streets in Awka, the Anambra State capital, wearing a new look. Driving through the highways and passing by communities, you're sure not to miss your way, as the names and directions of every area is boldly written on signposts for easy access. This is the latest project by the state government after the State House of Assembly passed the bill on Anambra housing numbering to allow for streets naming that enables proper identification. For the residents of the state capital, this is a welcome development.
Government to take notice of those things is very good, so that
we can have easy delivery of letters and even maybe in the Google, if you Google it, it might get through.
Before now, to locate a place, you'll always use landmarks, beside this house, before this. But now you have a proper numbering system, it's easy to locate buildings. So I think it's a welcome development and I'm happy about it.
According to the managing director of the Anambra State Signage and Advertisement Agency, the digitized numbering has numerous benefits, including boosting e-commerce.
We're in the e-commerce world right now. You buy things online. We want you to buy things online and get them delivered to you without having to ask people, where am I going to, where is the place?
The formal inauguration takes place in Awka, where the project manager reveals the digital mapping is to make Anambra a smart state.
You come into Awka, the streets are well posted, and then the house numbers are there. So you have a good feel as a visitor.
What you're going to have is a first-class rebranding of Anambra cities. And at each, immediately we take each address, the place is photographed and it's sent to Google. So you're not only going to be seeing the coordinates of the address, you're also going to see the picture of the house.
As the initiative continues, locating your destination in Anambra State will no longer be a problem for visitors, strangers and residents.
The African First Lady's Peace Mission, AFLPM, has called for equal opportunities and greater protection of the girl child from gender-based violence and harmful practices. The body of wives of African heads of states and governments made the call in a goodwill message by the acting chairperson and Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari on the occasion of International Day of the Girl Child 2020, themed My Voice, Our Equal Future. Mrs. Buhari also urged African leaders to equip every girl child with quality education and new skills that would ultimately help them to be self-reliant as a woman. The chairperson of AFLPM equally tasked African governments and stakeholders on more attention and resources towards protecting the girl child from HIV and AIDS and encouraged them to stand out as advocates for change. The world of malt drink just got exciting as Nigeria Breweries PLC, makers of Maltina, introduced its flavored malt extension with the launch of Maltina Vanilla and Maltina Pineapple, in addition to its Maltina Classic drinks. The new Maltina Pineapple and Maltina Vanilla have all the nutritious benefits of a malt drink and packed with all the nutritious benefits of a malt drink. As I said, the brand has announced a new campaign titled Own the Flavor. The trio of Osaz Igodaro, Tomike Adeoye and Rahama Sadao have been unveiled as brand ambassadors to showcase freedom of expression in their various professions. The new variants are now available in stores nationwide. On our shores now, researchers in Australia say the virus responsible for COVID-19 can remain infectious on surfaces such as banknotes, phone screens, and stainless steel for as long as 28 days. Previous laboratory studies have found that SARS-CoV-2 can survive for 2 to 3 days on banknotes and glass and up to 6 days on plastic and stainless steel, although results vary. Here's the global update. Beginning with India, the number of coronavirus case tally there has topped 7 million after a reported 74,383 new infections in the last 24 hours, even as the spread moderated in western states such as Maharashtra. According to the Health Ministry, deaths from COVID-19 rose by 918 in the last 24 hours to 108,334. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 deaths in Brazil has reached over 150,000. The country has the second highest death toll from the disease in the world, after the United States and the third largest caseload, which currently stands at over 5 million, after the United States and India. The total number of COVID-19 cases in the United States has exceeded 7.7 million, with death toll above 214,000. Scientists say starting from October, 19 states have seen new confirmed cases hit single-day peak, including Minnesota, Missouri, Indiana, and Montana. Among others, Wisconsin and Illinois reported over 3,000 new cases for a straight second day on Friday, which was not seen during the height of the previous outbreak in the spring.
Band 3. Look, we got to analyze. COVID-19 positive. Confirmed. Right.
Finally, in the UK, the widely used BCG tuberculosis vaccine is said to be tested on frontline care workers in Britain for its effectiveness against COVID-19. The Bacillus Calmette-Guerin vaccine, used to protect against tuberculosis, induces a broad innate immune system response and has been shown to protect against infection or severe illness with other respiratory pathogens. The study is part of an existing Australian-led trial which launched in April and also has arms in the Netherlands, in Spain and in Brazil.
Many listeners.
Meanwhile, leading UK scientist Professor Peter Holby says another national coronavirus lockdown is a possibility in the country, as it is at a precarious point with rising cases and hospital admissions. There are more than 600 new admissions for COVID each day in the UK, with close to 4,000 patients in hospital. That means about 3% of beds are occupied by COVID patients overall. Professor Holby is also chair of the New and Emerging Respiratory Virus Threats Advisory Group and a government advisor. He says critical mission now is to protect the NHS to avoid non-essential hospital services being cancelled, as many were when the UK went into its first nationwide lockdown in March. One memory he'll always cherish. And the main news again. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, today disbanded the special anti-robbery squad operations across the country after days of protests by several groups within and outside the country. Also today, Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu was re-elected for a second term in office after polling the highest number of votes in Saturday's governorship election. President Muhammadu Buhari, who is one of the first set of people to congratulate the governor, asked him to be humble and magnanimous in victory. We also brought you a report that at least 6 persons have been confirmed dead, while several others were injured after a 3-story building under construction collapsed in the Obalende area of Lagos. And researchers from Australia's National Science Agency today announced that the virus responsible for COVID-19 can remain infectious on surfaces like phones and banknotes for up to 28 days. Thanks for watching the news at 10. Good night.